So in the meantime, please open your code editor, the Open Processing Code Editor, and you can watch. And so in the meantime, please open your whatever is easier for you. You can do it at the same time. I'm going to do it 2 times. So you can either you can watch and then do it, and then, or you can do it at the same time, whatever is your level of skills. And if you have any questions, I have my Slack open, so feel free to ask any questions. Let me move my Slack to here. Okay, or you can use the Zoom chat. So the next session was August 3rd. No, no, we don't have a next session August 3rd. We have it every Tuesday until I think August, the last week of August. So if you want more information, you can go, I think I sent an email, but anyway, I'll go here since this is what I remember. This is, I remember where I put it. So let me get here. Okay, so these are all the classes. So we're right now Intro to Java with Processing. Then next week, there'll be 2 classes. It will be July 20th, July 27th. Then the following classes are Intro to Web Design, where we add P5GS to our website. And it went away. Let me put it back. And I'm going to put this link so you can look at it on. So it's every week there is a new section, a new skill. So basically these 2 weeks you learn computer-aided design with Java. So it's an introduction of what that is. The next week we start creating using P5GS, which is going to allow us to add our designs to the web. And the next section, which is August 3rd, 10, and 17, is going to be to create a website which has this design, this computer-aided design. And then the next following week, we're going to create a website that is live, that is host. So you can actually share it, kind of like the one I have right now. I have this one I created on GitHub. So I'm going to do it for the next 2 weeks. Yeah, everything is recorded. Everything is recorded. It's all no stress. Okay, so everybody, open your Open Processing. So you can go to openprocessing.org. And if you don't have an account, you should take some time now to create an account. And if you have your account, good. So you can just sign in. And then if it takes you here, just go here to your, just click here and just say leave. Mine goes there, yours might be different. Yes, everybody is automatic register. Since you're registered for this class, you don't have to register for any other class. If you get tired of getting my emails, please let me know and I will stop sending you emails. So you go here to Open Processing. So hopefully everybody gets here where you see create a sketch. That's where we want to go, to create a sketch. So I hope everybody can do that. So basically, let me do it again. I'm going to sign out. And again, your setup might be different than mine, so don't go exactly by mine. The main thing is to get where it says create a sketch. Would you mind the link to Notion page? Is on the class handout. The class handout, there is a channel on Slack that says class handout. You can click there and you can find it. And it's the same link than last week. So I'm not using two different links for the handout. It's the same link. You just have to, I'll show you where we start. So you're gonna go and create a sketch. So try to find on the top left corner where you're gonna create a sketch and stay there for a moment. Oh, and make sure you delete this because this is for something else. And what else do we need to do? Anybody remembers what do we need to do? Everybody paid attention last week? Yeah, change it for, thank you, Doug. Change it to that, to PJS. So we're in the right. And if you want, you can go here to editor and change the view so you can see it at the same time that you're coding. And then click here, X. So let me do it again. You create this. I'm gonna redo this again. You don't have to redo it. I'm just gonna show it because I know people are looking at the keyboards, looking at the mouse, and then moved ahead. So create a sketch, erase all the text there because we don't need it. Change it to PJS like Doug mentioned it. Go to editor and change the view so you can code and see your design, and then click this X. Okay, so we're ready to start. So let me give you some code. So this is the handout. Like I said, the handout is in the Zoom chat, and let me add it again in the Zoom chat in case somebody missed it. It's the same one than last week. I condensed two classes in one handout, and you can go here to class handout on Slack and find the handout. Then you can scroll down, and I put here a link. So you can just click class 2 and it's gonna take you to the place where we're gonna start. So go ahead and find class 2. If you want, you can do this later. You don't need it to have it now. I use this as my notes, but if you wanna have it. So, so remember when you do a sketch, after you do finish your sketch and you have your code, remember to save it so it doesn't go away. So last week we started using open processing. So I hope you feel more comfortable with this code editor. You start drawing shapes. You learn basic function to draw shapes with processing, and you learn the structure. So whatever is drawn first, whatever is the first code that you write is going to be in front. So one of the things we didn't do last week, we're going to do it now, is the canvas size. So this canvas is, you know, if you took math or if you ever done let me change this so I don't, it feels like I'm going to save it. So today is, okay, so it doesn't do that. So this canvas is like a map. So you have X or horizontal, or, you know, the plane if you are thinking about the map, and the Y. So it's up. So Y. So that works as a canvas. So the 0 starts around here. It depends how big your canvas is. The 0 changes. So you're gonna have a measure on horizontal measure and a vertical measure. So remember that, and that's how you size your canvas. So let's start with the first function. When you don't set up your canvas, the default is 100 by 100. So that's what we were doing last week. So we had this very little, very little graphics. And some of you were asking, how can we make it bigger? So now you know how to make it bigger. So now we're going to put a function called size. And when we don't put the function, it's just a default 100 by 100 pixels. And if you put 300, is 300, and if 800 is big, and then you can go up to maybe 900 or 1000. You don't have the split screen, so if you don't have the split screen, try to find this icon on the top right part of the processing. If you see some nodes or some lines with circles, click on it and go to the editor and find here under layout, choose this one. So I'm gonna leave it there so on the screen so you all can see that. Okay, separate that screen. You don't have that on the screen? Yeah, everybody has it. Just look here, and if you don't have it, send me a screenshot or either on Slack or on email. I would like to see that. It's right here below this icon. So you have to be on the sketch. So you are out, you create a sketch, and then sometimes it'll pull out and you go editor. If it doesn't pull out, like just happened, click on this icon that is on the top right corner. And then click that and then go to editor. Okay, I hope that helped. I'm gonna leave it there so you can see it. Well, send me a screen because that will help me send the screen either on Slack or on email so I can see what you're seeing because definitely we're on sync. And then we can talk late after the class and we can get you synced up. So, where is my Slack? Oh, yeah, it depends. It shifted, depends of the size. So that's what I was getting into it. So if you don't put a size, it's going to default as 100 by 100. But if you put, then if you start putting, sizes, then it's going to go right in the middle. But we have to create that. So let's try this code. So you can go, I'm going to put it here on Slack. I'm going to put it on Slack and you can copy paste it or you can get it from the handout. And that will help. I'm going to try to put it here on the chat too. So I put 300 by 300 in that rectangle. The position is 40. So we can find the 0, by moving it, but let's just try this one, and the width and the height will be 50-50, and then we can run it. So you press here in the middle. If you have the symbol, you have the play symbol, you just play. So this is 40. Let's put 0, so we can find the 0. And I'm gonna do it again. So there it is, that's 0, somebody was asking for it. So remember, this is changing. This is just a canvas that we draw in the space. So there is no negative. Let's see if there's a negative. So I just want to show this where people didn't see it. I'm going to put the code that I put on Slack and I put on the chat, and I'm going to paste it. So you can do Control-V or right-click paste. And then you're gonna press this button in the middle and you're gonna run it, and then you're gonna get that rectangle. Okay, and the rectangle, I think we talked about it, is X, Y, which is the position, and then 50-50 is the width and the height. So let's put negative to see what happened. Let's see if it's how it reads it. So the negative is out of. So that means that this X and Y, it takes this whole space. So when we're taking X and Y is not are independent, it's dependent of the canvas, it's dependent of the whole space that we're using. So let's put this, let's put it in 40. And then you can, if you want, you can experiment changing the width and just click this arrow in a circle, and then it'll move around the canvas. Somebody's typing, so I'm waiting for somebody to type. And remove the next one. If I add anything to the code, it removes the next one automatically. How come? Can you specify? Like when you add negative to 40, yeah, if you add negative to 40, it took out the 4. Let me try. Let's see. So I put negative. Oh, there is no negative 0. There is only 0. So 0 cannot be negative. So I don't know if that was the question. Sorry, I only here by myself try to understand the question. Like when I added negative to 40, oh, I'm adding negative to 40 and it's nothing is taking it out. So I don't know how. If yeah, that's what I was thinking. If you have a keyboard, this there is an insert key, and I always click it by mistake. I don't find it in this keyboard, but it's usually here on the top by the numbers. So if you hit the insert once, it'll delete the next digit or the next letter. So you might want to hit it again and see if it changes the configuration. Okay, thank you. Okay, good. Problem solved. Yeah, thank you. I was thinking about that, but I thought maybe it's not that. Okay, so the next thing, so you can review later with more time how this rectangle works, how this canvas, how you can cane the canvas. It's very fun when you start changing the digits, and there is a lot of things you can do. You can make the canvas bigger or smaller. So let's talk about colors. So because this looks very sad right now. So let's talk about colors. So we have the grayscale right now. So we have something, so in the grayscale, 0, this is only one digit. 0 is full black, and then 255 is white. And so how do we work? Why is that important? It's important because we can change the background. The background is all this empty space, all this empty space is this universe that live back here, which is the default, if we don't specify, it's just white. But let's change that and let's add a background. So you can just type background and let's add no, let's add 87. 87. 87. Let me move this here. And parentheses, and don't forget the semicolons, and then rerun it and see what happens. See if you see anything extraordinary happen. And remember, it's all lowercase. Background, all lowercase. Anybody saw anything happen? Oh, maybe it didn't work. Everybody's so quiet. So let me run it. And yeah, it became darker shade. Yeah, it became darker shade. So I'm going to move this size up. See what happened. See if it get better. Yeah, so it got better. So I can put here 900, change it to 900, and rerun it again. And now we actually went very big. So it went all the way there. Oh, because I have 40, minus 40. That's not a good idea. I'm going to take the minus out. Okay, so now you can do this, or I can put 300, and bear with me. Okay, so now the background is all, you can change the colors. But, you know, this is very sad. Still, you can work with grayscale, but let's do some other colors. So there is something called Rgb palette, which is red, green, and black, blue. And you can see here, and the numbers, the different numbers that we can add, 0 to 55, it'll mix and it'll create more colors. So let's change to something. So white, it'll be red, it'll be all 255. Green, it'll be all 255. And blue, it'll be 255. That will make white. And you can see here, when all those colors get together, you get white. And then black will be a value of 0, 0, 0 for red, green, and blue. So for example, orange will be a lot of red, which is 255, a little bit of green, and no blue at all. So you can see orange here, it doesn't have any blue. And to make your life easier, and this is something that we're going to start using more when we go and create a website. It becomes much funner. You can have a whole table of RGB codes. And you can see here the different, and you can click here and create and go to a bigger table. There is something called Hex Codes, and we'll talk about that later when we do HTML. It's just very similar. It's hard to gauge, you know, to play around with the numbers. Okay, let me see. Somebody sent me an email, so 1 second. See if where somebody is. So play around for now if you can. I'm going to give you a code. So this is this code, and this is just gray. But now let's add some digits here. So experiment with digits and see what happened, like I just did. Oh, that's pretty. And you can look at the different combination and see what you get while I solve the situation. I think I know what happens. Okay, for the person who sent me the screenshot, you have this on the screenshot, right? You have this on the screenshot because you just sent me that you have this. So go to editor, click on editor. You have sketch, files, and editor. And I'm glad somebody else might have the same question you have. So that's no interruption at all. So find editor and click on editor. Did you find editor?
Yes, I've got editor.
Okay, go to layout.
Yes, I got layout.
And you have this one selected, this square.
Okay, I
Choose.
moved it to the other one and I've got the split screen.
Yes.
Okay.
And now you can close it. See this X here?
Okay.
Just click on the X. All right, so it goes away.
Great.
And then if you need it again, you just click on this icon here.
Okay, great. And I also had to switch to PJS. I had PJ5.
Yes, you have to choose to PJS.
Okay,
that's correct.
That's what did it. Okay, great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Awesome, no problem. So anybody found any good combinations of colors? So this is really fun to get into colors, and you can find all kind of colors just by changing. So let's do something more magical with that, right? So we have the size of the canvas, we have the background, but what about the shape? How do we change the color of the shape? I have a question comment, so I'm waiting for the question to come. Oh, somebody, let me try that color. 100, 340. 340. Let me run that one. Ah, I like that. That's very nice blue. The hashtags are the hex codes, and they can be also used, but we're not going to use them today because it's too much for one class. But in theory, you, instead of using those three numbers, you can use the hex code, which is hashtag. You can use them. But the difference is you don't know the measurement, right? You don't know how much of blue, how much of green. It's just a code. It's a very cryptic code. You don't know what F00. It doesn't make any sense. But we're gonna use, it's gonna be very helpful later on. Oh, okay, good. So now let's do the shapes. They color the shapes. So the function to color the shape is called fill. And then we're gonna use the RGB codes. So we can use the fill, or you can write here fill after background, fill, lowercase, and then put a color. So I'm gonna put 0, 2, 255, which is gonna give me, I forgot, blue. It's gonna give me blue there. But I can change it. Somebody says 87, 0. So let's do that. Oh, that's the same ratio. So you can play around. I have here an attachment, a plugin. I use this often. So I have a plugin here. Or you can go, if you want to have more fun, you can go here to this color picker, all colors. And you can actually pick colors and you're gonna get the code. And that's a lot of, you can go to Canva, the Canva palette. It has the RGB codes, and Adobe has, you can find a ton of places where you can find it. But for now, I'm just gonna do this simple since we don't have much time. So I'm just gonna pick up something easy. So let's see, something something like this, so it pops out. And this is again a plugin I got from Google. You don't have to have it. I just have it because I use it a lot. 255 to, so I'm gonna change it to 55 and 0 and maybe 2. I just want something to pops up. Oh, okay. So, you know, that's the function to color the shape. One of the things to note here is this fill is going to color whatever is immediately below. It's immediately below. So when you start adding more shapes, just have that in mind. So, so let's go and move along. Since if you don't have any questions, please stop me if you have any questions. So we did the fill, and I have here an example, and I have here another a link to get a palette with the RGB codes. And here I have a homework. You can experiment at home and look at this and play more around. And all that is to bring us to animation. So any questions about what we have done so far? All good? Okay, so good, thank you. So now we're gonna move into animation. Animation is what that's what we're doing this, is to create moving things. So a program that displays an animation has to be able to show change. And remember, we're only humans and we have a computer. The computer is super powerful. So you remember these flip books that maybe you did, you know, in a summer camp, or you did in art school. I remember doing it when I was, I didn't want to pay attention to a class, and you know, they were very funny. So we're gonna do the same, but the difference is we're gonna do it with a computer. And the only thing humans can see animation is that we need to be able to see change. So the computers are changing things. We are right now animating things, but we cannot see it. So right now, everything you have done so far is being animated in quotes. It has been drawn and drawn and drawn and drawn and drawn 1,000 times, because we have a forever loop right here that is being drawn. So, well, no specifically with this, but in a minute, we're gonna have a forever loop. So a computer is gonna draw and draw and draw, but we're not gonna be able to see it because our human eyes cannot see how fast the computer is rewriting something. So for us, it thinks that nothing is changing. It's staying everything in one place. So it's this principle of the flip book. So having that in mind, to create animation, we have to create 2 loops. One is gonna happen only once, which is this one called void setup. And the next one is a forever loop. And a forever loop is a song that never stops. It keeps running and running and running and running. It's like if you ever read or watch Alice in Wonderland, when they are in their tea, and they're singing, that's a forever loop. So it never stops. So which is really bad sometimes, but for animation it's good, because it's gonna run and run and run, and that's what you want. So the first function is called void setup. That's gonna happen only once. So think about things that you want to happen only once. And the second function is the void draw. We're gonna add there anything that we want to keep happening over and over and over and over and over. So those are important questions. So you might want to take some time to think about it. and let's try them. So if you don't understand now, you might want to think about it. It's gonna come to you. Wisdom takes time to come. And the more you practice and you break this code and you reassemble it, it's gonna make more sense, because the computers create an illusion for humans. And that's a very important, that's a very, a concept that I learned while I was doing codes. I was writing computers. So we got this one that we just wrote is not moving. We don't see any animation. It's static. So we're gonna do a couple things. We're gonna add this void setup. So we're gonna change it. We're gonna think about what part of this we want to happen once and what part of this we happen over and over and over. So the size, since we don't have you guys are not with me, what do you think will be something that will happen only once? And I have clues here, but it doesn't have to be those. Anybody think what will happen only once? Drawing the canvas, yeah? Very good. Anybody else has any idea? Any other idea? What do you want to happen once? So drawing the canvas, yeah. And there is no wrong answer. It's actually, in this case, there is no wrong answer. So thank you for answering. So the rest will be by default anything that you want to be happening over and over and over. So some of you might have tried this. So I'm going to put the code. I'm going to put this code here in case I did it wrong. No, let me check this one. So let me just check this one before I run it. So I think it's going to run. Yeah. So this is the code that you just had. I'm going to put it here. The background canvas, yes, that's right. But there are other things, and you guys are going to find out that can be run only once. And that's what makes this interesting. So this is what I just did. But it's very simple. So let's change it to something more simple. So this one is it. So do you see any animation on this? So is this animated? You see any change? No. So that's a trick question I ask you. Actually, the background, the fill, and the rectangle are in the forever loop. So what happened in the forever loop? What do you think is happening in the forever loop? And I love asking this question and making people suffer. Yeah, but how many times? How many times is drawing the background and filling the rectangle? Because remember, this one is the forever loop. So this one, I'm going to write it here. Yeah, infinite times. Exactly, faster than the eye can follow, because we can only are human. We are only human. So if we had superpowers, we could see the background being drawn like this, being drawn. But we don't have it. So we have to create an illusion of change, which is the flip book. So how do you make a flip book? You draw the same thing, but you change it a little bit. Yeah, exactly. So that's the work of a of somebody that works in computers for people is to create an experience, an illusion, make people believe. It's like when you go and watch a movie. Yeah, so we have to create a change. In processing, and the next one, we're gonna create the change by moving things, by changing the location. So let's try this one because this is the one I wanna try. This is similar. So I'm gonna run this one, and this one is the same thing, but it's not moving. So I'm gonna put it here on, and then on Slack. And you can type. So this one is static. It's not static, it's moving, but it's not changing anything. It's not changing anything. So for us, human, yeah, we need to change the position. We need to see some change in X and Y and horizontal and vertical movement. So we're gonna do that by something called mouse X and mouse Y. So we're gonna do it with our mouse. So we're gonna go to the ellipse and delete that 250 and write mouse X, and then we write mouse Y. So anybody can predict what this is gonna do. And I'll give you some time to type, to put this on your code editor. Yeah, so by moving my mouse, I'm gonna add the variability of position. So I'm gonna be able to change the position. So let's run it and see what happened. So now, see, we're changing the ellipse. And if we do the same thing on the rectangle, we will move the rectangle. For now, just leave it like that. Okay, so now we have an animation. And you can actually change it if you want to be, experiment a little bit. You can write here Y, and you can write here X. There is no rule for it. The only rules is to keep the syntax. It changes a little, it moves different. So you can play with that. So, okay, let me see my notes so I'm not getting ahead. So I explained here about that. So let's do an effect. So somebody said the size, create the canvas only once, because the canvas is going to stay static, right? And that's a good observation. That's a good suggestion. What about the background? What do you think will happen if the background is drawn only once? So let's move the background to the setup loop. So this background, let's cut it or delete it and put it in the setup. And see what happened. See if you see any surprises. Or maybe I did it wrong. Could happen. So now you can make like a caterpillar. And then if you change here the mouse, so you can start experimenting with this mouse. You don't have to do that, only if you want to. And I'm gonna make this bigger, 500, and I'm gonna run it again. So I just I put the mouse X and mouse Y in the rectangle. And again, you can flip it. You can write mouse Y and mouse X. There is no rule that it has to be X on X. So now, see, I'm moving both. And I can make the ellipse a little bit smaller. So it's because it's too big. So let's see if it's a nicer effect. So you can work on this and create a better, illusions, and create more different variations. And sometimes you find really interesting things that you can do. So everybody did this? Everybody good or lukewarm? Awesome. Awesome. So the next thing we're gonna do is the last thing is the concept of conditional, and we're gonna do mouse press and mouse no press. So what we're gonna put an action. If you press the mouse, something will happen. If you don't press the mouse, something will happen. So that's called a conditional, and a conditional is basically a yes, true, or a no. So if it's yes, you do this. If it's not yes, you do this. So if else. So to do that, we're going to put this inside the forever loop, the draw loop, and let's see what happens. So I'm going to give you the code since we don't have much time. Just take this code and you can add it to the one. Oh, somebody needs a few minutes. So in the meantime, you guys, whoever is done, you can take that code that I just put there and experiment with it. With a press mouse, no pressing mouse. What happened? And I'm gonna put it here. Yeah, exactly. So if we press it, it turns. Okay, so somebody said needed more time. Anybody stuck? So so basically, if mouse is pressed, so we put this structure inside the draw loop, and if mouse is pressed, then you're gonna see a rectangle, which is what happened. If you don't shadow the effect, you need to move the background to the first loop. So the key, so I'm talking about the other one we did with it looks like a caterpillar. So that one, the trick is to move the background, this background, to the first loop, the setup loop. because what happened is when you put the background in the setup loop, it's gonna be drawn only once. But your circle, the ellipse, is gonna be drawn anytime you have a new position in the mouse. So that's the beauty of moving the background to the setup, because you decide to draw the background only once. Before, it was erasing the, if you put it here, and I'm glad I didn't go through this, so I'm gonna go through this. So in this case, you don't see it. What's happening is the background is the circle, the ellipse is the circle, I'm gonna say circle, is drawn, and then the background is drawn on top of it, because it goes background, stroke, fill, ellipse, and it goes back. And a stroke is the border. If somebody missed the stroke, I didn't mention, the stroke is the border. So the color of the border. So in this case is white because it's 255. So the background is, the circle is drawn, then the background, it goes back to the background because it goes back like this, and it erases it. But we don't see it because it's happened too fast, and we don't have delay. We don't have a way to make it a space in time. But when we move the background to the top loop, the background is going to be drawn once, but the circle is going to keep drawing anytime you move it, anytime it's a new location. So the stroke is the border. So let me change it to red. So what was, no, this is white. So let me red, I can change it to red so you can see it. I skipped that part, sorry. So see, the stroke is the border around, and you can go to reference and read more about, it's the outlines. Yeah, it's the outline. So this is pretty cool. It looks like that. So going back to the mouse press that we were just doing, is a conditional statement. So the conditional statement is presenting choices. Is the mouse is pressed, and remember it has the curly, is a syntax is very important with the if statement. You have the curly bracket at the beginning, and then you have the end of the curly bracket, and you can write it like this actually. You don't have to write it exactly like this if you want to see it better. So each conditional statement, it has a curly bracket, and then else, and then you put what happened. So if the mouse is pressed, which I'm gonna press the mouse, you're gonna see a rectangle, which is the condition. So if the mouse is pressed is true, then I'm gonna see a rectangle. If the mouse is not pressed, so the mouse is pressed false, then I'm gonna see this circle. So that's the basic of the conditional statement. And conditional statement can be more complex, but for this class, we're just gonna stay like that. So the next thing we can do is to help us with something else. So we're gonna do with the background. So we're gonna copy this one, and I'm gonna put it here on Slack and on Zoom, and I'm gonna add it here. So in this case, I put a background at the beginning. It's gonna be fixed, and then it's gonna have, if mouse press, there is a background. If it's not pressed, I'm gonna have the circle going around. So let's see what is this trying to do. So I have this, I'm not pressing the mouse. So I'm in the state in the else statement. I'm not pressing the mouse. But if I press my mouse, what is going to happen? It's going to erase everything. And I'm going to start again. So I can do this and then press it. Or the other way around would be the next one. And I'm going to put it here. This is the other one, the other option. And I'm going to put it on Zoom and you can try. This is the other option. I'm going to run it. And this is the background. Where is the background? There is no background. Is on the background is on the else statement. So right now I'm on the else statement because I'm not touching the mouse. But what happened if I touch the mouse? I have to draw with the mouse press. So let me do it again. So if you have the code that I gave out in Zoom or Slack, you will notice there is a background initially because otherwise it'll be all white. Then I have the void draw, which is going to be a stroke and fill for my ellipse. And I just chose to do it there. I can do it in the else, it doesn't matter. I just chose to do it there because it will apply to the next thing, the next object beneath, which is the ellipse. So if the mouse is pressed, this is backwards than the last one. If the mouse is pressed, I'm gonna have a circle. If the mouse is not pressed, I'm gonna have a background. So this is what I have. I press it and then I let go. Press it and then I let go. So any questions about anything? Anybody who's left behind or would like to try something different? I'm gonna stop the recording, so give me a second.